Hi there. In this video, we're going to discuss the basics and main ideas of the French defense, one of the fundamental openings. Let's first start with the structure of the series because we're going to dedicate several videos to this amazing opening. So everything starts with the e4, e6, d4, and d5. And here we have different options. The advanced variation starts with the e4, e5. Another two major options for white are knight to c3 and knight to d2, protecting the pawn on e4. So within the knight to c3, we're going to discuss the classic one, which starts with the knight f6. Another option for black is a so-called maneuver variation, which is bishop to b4 move. And the Paulsen variation, which is knight to c6. It's mainly the sideline, but highly popular in blitz and rapid tournaments, so worth learning. Knight to d2 move instead of knight to c3 is the Tarrasch variation, where we're going to learn knight to f6, which is more French type. And another one, which is active and playable, is c7, c5. Another option for white is, of course, to take on d5, which is an exchanged variation, but in my opinion, it's the least ambitious one. But don't be fooled by the simplicity of these positions. There are still some tricks, so we're going to learn this one as well. Now let's get to major ideas, basic plans, and stuff. So let's get to this position. After e4, e6, d4, and d5. So the first question is, what is the idea behind this setup for black? So compared to, let's say, e4 and e5 move, let's have a look at that position. We may notice that position is not so open. What is closed in this case is the diagonal a2, g8, right? So white no longer has the simple access to f7 square. Let's say after d4 and d5, it's already a problem for white how to develop a light square bishop. It's also a problem for black though, because after e6, this bishop no longer has good squares on diagonal c8, h3. So black has to solve that problem a bit later. And it's a bigger problem for black's light squared bishop compared to white's light squared one because except for c4 square, let's say, this bishop still has a d3. For instance, in the advanced variation, it's not a problem to have the active light squared bishop for white. So this diagonal is pretty interesting, especially if black castles short. For black, it's a great problem. So normally this bishop is being exchanged a bit later or remains passive for some time, again, just to be exchanged in a later game or maybe maneuvered somewhere to active position. Sometimes it is also possible, and we will discuss that later. So we already know that position is not open compared to e4, e5, let's say. We already know that it's not so simple to checkmate black's king here. Well, because there is no way to create a simple and fast attack. And there is a problem for the light squared bishop for black. What else? If we talk about this particular pawn structure, we can notice that both pawns are mutually blockading each other, which means we deal with the pawn chain. So the first one who made a concrete definition of the pawn chain was Aaron Nimzovich, and he was also the one who postulated the plans for both sides in this case. So every pawn chain has a basis. So for black, the basis of the pawn chain right now is e6. For white, it is d4. The idea is to attack the basis of the pawn chain because this makes the whole pawn chain vulnerable. So the plans are clear. Within this pawn structure, black will try to attack d4, and it is usually done by playing c5 and then aggressively attacking this pawn, not only with the pawn but also with other pieces, for example like this. Knight goes to c6, then queen goes to b6, and so on. So black does everything to make this pawn fall or go away. The idea is that once there is this pawn, for example, pawn e5 becomes much more vulnerable and black can switch to attacking that pawn. The same is true for white. So since the basis of the pawn chain is e6. White wants to attack that pawn with the f4, probably later f5, and the same stuff. So if e6 goes away, let's say, then d5 becomes quite vulnerable. It is also possible to create a weakness on these squares. So for example, black may consider taking on d4, and d4 becomes a backward pawn, and as you can see, cannot be protected by pawns anymore. So it's possible to attack these pawns with pieces, right? Same is true to e6. For example, imagine this sort of exchange. Now e6 cannot be protected, which means it's possible to organize the pieces attack against this pawn. This is about the attack against the basis of the pawn chain. Another possible thing that may happen, and happens sometimes, is that the basis may change. For example, after c4, d4 is no longer the basis of the pawn chain, so now the basis is this c3 pawn, right? So it's clear that black wants to create an attack against this one. So just b5, a5, b4, again with the same consequences. Either c3 goes away and d4 becomes weak, or black captures on c3, creates a weakness there, and attacks that pawn with his pieces. Other stuff happening here. So this f4, f5 is although the major plan according to the pawn structure, but it's not so simple to implement. So normally white wants to do something else. Since there is more space on the king side, white tries to organize an attack against h7 and g7. Because of this pawn on e5, black has a serious problem with developing the knight, for instance, and it will take time to bring it to other position. The same is true for the bishop, not so simple. So at some point, when these pieces are developed, it may happen that h7 and g7 are vulnerable, and white will try to attack them with this simple move. So the pieces are being developed, then white tries to jump somewhere closer to king side pawns and attack either the king or just the pawns, because sometimes black castles the long side, for example. So these are typical plans for this pawn structure, but we have different pawn structures in French defense, so let's briefly discuss them. This is the classic one. There are also other possibilities. For example, if the pawn c7 is exchanged for the pawn d4, say like this. So there is a difference. For example, if we still have all the minor pieces on the board, it's the one thing, I guess, this pawn structure is good for black. If we no longer have, say, dark squared bishops, it may happen, then I believe this pawn structure is pretty good for white, because black has lots of dark squared weaknesses. It's the first thing. And if white manages, for example, to get something like this, then white benefits a lot from it. So the blockading knight on d4 is amazing. It's not possible to attack it with pawns, for example, anymore. And the stuff like f6, which is a try to get rid of this e5 pawn, no longer works, because without the dark squared bishop, after this sort of exchange, let's say, black no longer has, right pieces to fight for dark squares. So this usually leads to just further weakening of the position, and just imagine another knight gets to e5, and it's just a catastrophe. So this is an amazing blockading setup for white, and it's very, very beneficial stuff. So the pawn structure is the same, but you should be careful about the set of pieces you have on the board to evaluate it correctly. Let's have a look now at the other one, which is pretty typical for different lines. So it arises when pawns on c7 and d4 are exchanged. So basically, at some point, black plays some like c5, white plays c3, and then there is an exchange on d4 this way. And also at some point, pawn on e5 has been undermined with the f6, and we have these pawns exchanged as well, and this time this way. So that's now we have several weaknesses on the board. So obviously black has a weakness on e6, but white's pawn on d4 is also not that great anymore. As we can see, cannot be protected by pawns from adjacent files. But if we compare these two weaknesses, I would say that black's weakness on e6 is a bit more vulnerable, just because it is placed on the open file. So in addition to some attacks from the side, white can also just attack it directly with heavy pieces using the e-file. But it doesn't mean that this position is automatically better for white. So sometimes white benefits from this pawn structure. In addition to this weakness, there is also an amazing spot on e5 that white can occupy at some point. But sometimes black has just sufficient counterplay, counterattacking the d4, using the f-file, which is now open, to activate the rook, and so on. So you should be aware that this position, this pawn structure, is not necessarily good for either of sides. So everything depends on the concrete setup, but you should be ready to play this stuff because it's pretty typical, and as I said, it can arise from different lines. So another interesting pawn structure and pretty typical is the one when pawns d and e are exchanged, which is normally typical for Rubinstein. So let's have a look at that one. So when we have this setup, and let's just imagine white plays either knight c3 or knight d2 and black captures on e4, we have this pawn structure. So as you can see, it's not a typical French pawn structure. Again, this pawn structure may arise from different openings. What we see here is that white has kind of extra central pawn. Black has slightly passive setup here for now. So the evaluation of these lines depends on the efficiency of black's play against white's d4, because if d4 remains on the board, white will be always at least slightly better. If white still controls the center after the opening, then again, white is better. So black usually tries to undermine d4 to get rid of this pawn. Typically it happens after black's undermining move c5 at some point, not necessarily in this position, of course. And if these pawns are exchanged, well, white will have 3 against 2 on the queen side, and black will have 4 against 3 on the king side. So again, position will be playable for both sides. For the endgame stage, it's probably slightly better for white, but it's not necessarily that relevant. As for this bishop, again, in these lines, within this pawn structure, it's a typical stuff for black to develop this bishop on the a8, h1 diagonal, because it is open compared to other French lines where the pawn remains on d5, for example, and this diagonal makes no sense for the bishop. Here it's different, so some typical stuff is to develop the bishop here, or maybe this way, like bishop d7, bishop c6. So compared to other French lines here, the problem of the light squared bishop is not that great, so it's really simple to improve it. So as you can see, there are different patterns, different options. We have discussed probably the most important things about French defense. As for the starter video, at least, it will definitely help you understand the lines we're going to discuss in further videos of this series. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and see you later in the course.